What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we're going over Solana as we are seemingly looking to see a breakout from this descending wedge in which we've been in for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks straight. Of course, we saw some absolutely phenomenal highs being put in. We saw this beautiful run getting set, but of course, as we did become extremely extended off most of our moving averages, we were all under the interpretation that at some given point, we are going to come back down to an area that made sense. We're going to come back down to an area in which could hold this. We can establish some foundation before seeing the continuation throughout the bull market. And so what we can see from Solana at this point is that it has come down to one of the most absolutely crucial and key levels for both the long term and the short term. And since that is the case, with that mixed in with the fact that Bitcoin does seem as if it wants to make a move to the upside, I do think that we may be looking at Solana setting some really new highs at this point. I think that we could see that happening over the next few weeks, over the next few months. And so in today's video, I'm going to take a look at what are the next steps for us to be able to see a continued move back to the top side. So with that being said, of course, let's go ahead and let's get into today's video. So what we've been paying the most amount of attention to from Solana has been a few different things, okay? But one thing I wanted to start off with was this 20 simple moving average on the weekly charts. Now, realistically, this is going to serve as absolutely crucial. The reason I say that is because whenever we look at the 20 simple moving average paired with our Bollinger Bands, we know that as we do get extended outside of our Bollinger Bands, at some given point, they will return back to their moving average. Because remember, your Bollinger Bands are going to be found off doing 2 standard deviations away from a key moving average. What that means is you're going to take whatever price or whatever level you're at this moving average and do 2 standard deviations away from it. That places you at your Bollinger Band to the top side and to the bottom side. Now, what generally happens from that point is that as you do reach 2 standard deviations away from your moving average, you will eventually, there's no guaranteed time, of course there are ways to guess it, but there's no guaranteed time, you will eventually resort back to your moving average as the price can only maintain being standardly deviated away from the moving average for a short amount of time. Now again, a short amount of time could be a few weeks, it could be a few months, but eventually it will return. Well, what we can see is the fact that since we did come off the top side, we have now successfully returned back to our moving average and do seem to be finding some support here. As you can see on our weekly charts, we actually did wick through it last week. We came down and lost that 20-week SMA, but we did recover it very well and seemingly are putting in a bottom on this 20 simple moving average. So what does that mean for us? Well, what that means for us is that there is a strong chance that we will actually find some support here and see some upward continuation, very similarly to what we saw back here, right? Now, in this example, as we were going into the summer, the market did see a bit of more of a correction than we saw from, the last couple of weeks or so. And so we did see the actual loss of the 20 SMA, but we actually came back down to a key level of support, our final level of VPVR support here. We held this, and once we were able to recapture this 20 simple moving average, that was the rocket fuel we needed to enter back into an extension and really see some upward growth. When you mix that in with a strong increase of fundamentals plus NFTs doing amazing, Solana was just set to see some growth. And what we're seeing now is that same level that held and allowed us to see this push could definitely allow us to see another push back towards the $300 to even $350 range. Now, looking at this thing from more of a daily perspective, more on the short term, we can also see that we are attempting to see the breakout happen very soon here. What usually happens with Solana is that as the price does approach this key level of resistance, we will see it, we will touch it, and we will immediately fall to the downside. Touch it, fall. Touch it, lost it, fall. And you can see how that continuously was happening. But we can see a bit of a difference now. We can see that we've come up to it and we've allowed ourselves to hang out in this area. Now, I do believe the fact that we're not just seeing a touch and immediate fall, I think that's going to be due to the bullish pressure we're seeing from Bitcoin at the moment. Do remember, the majority of the market is acting off of Bitcoin. I would say about 90%. So what that means for us is that when Bitcoin's doing well, the rest of the market's typically going to do well as well. And so the fact that we did see this bullish breakout from 2 key levels of resistance from Bitcoin tells me that we're seeing a lot more bullish sentiment, and likelihood is we're going to see alts doing better, which contributes to the fact that Solana is now seeing this consistent retest of this level of resistance. So what we need to be paying attention to at the moment is, are we about to see this bigger move to the upside? And my opinion is it is definitely possible. The reason I say that is looking at something like the MACD, we of course did get this bullish cross happening, and we are seeing the continuation of the uptrend. You can see these green candles candles are starting to turn relatively exponential. Usually when this happens, that's a good sign that we definitely could be looking at the beginning of some type of nice large bullish move. You mix that in with the fact that we saw the bullish cross happen in bearish territory, provides us with all of this room of opportunity for some growth, which could provide Solana with even further growth to the upside. One thing we can see on even smaller time frames is that on the last little swing high, swing low event, we put in some bullish divergence. Now what that's going to look like is if we zoom, one thing you can see here is that we put in a low, boom, we put in a lower low. Now, very subtle, very small, but it is indeed a lower low. Whereas on the price in that same time frame, we put in this low, boom, and we put in, let's go ahead and do that, there we go, and we put in a higher low. Again, very subtle, a very small higher low, but it was indeed a higher low. So remember, when we see these higher lows getting set on the price and lower lows getting set on the RSI, that's bullish divergence. And considering the fact that we are seeing bullishness in the market, as well as bullish divergence when the prices fall, that tells me that we definitely can be getting geared to see a move back to the top side. So the way in which you're going to be able to gauge when this move is happening and when the breakout is happening is going to go ahead and we're going to have to zoom all the way down to the 4-hour charts and look at what pattern we have forming here. What we have forming seems to be something of a bullish flag, in which we're going to go ahead and make this our green level of resistance, of course, because that's what we want to clear. And then we're going to go ahead and set this as our red level of support that we do not want to clear, okay? Now, what you can see is that we are creating something, again, of this bullish flag here. When we see a break, whatever direction it goes is going to be the indicator of where the price of Solana is likely going for the next, in my guess, week to month, okay? It could be 1 week up to 4 weeks. I think this is going to be super indicative of what we can expect to see in the short term, and so we absolutely need to be paying very close attention to this. If we see Bitcoin's price really start to tank again and we start to see it crash back to the bottom side towards 42,000, do expect that Solana will follow and find a breakout to the downside and likely come retest $160. But if we start to see Bitcoin and the rest of the market seeing some beautiful moves to the upside, in which this support establishment right here comes down, holds support, and continues to set a new local high, do expect that Solana will see this break of trend here. Boom. And once this happens, likelihood is your number's $190. Once we clear $190, I personally will be taking on a trade here, as I'm under the belief that that's the door for us to start to work our way back up to $215 to maybe even $220 plus. So that right now is exactly how I'm playing it. We looked at the long term, the midterm, and now we're looking at the short term. And what the short term tells us is we need to be paying very close to this bullish flag, and we need not be buying until we see the break. I personally would not be doing anything until we see how this breaks, because it's very, very dependent on if Bitcoin's price is going to come down and hold this support, or if it's going to lose this support, which will lead to an even further fall. That is going to directly impact Solana's price, and you don't want to be getting caught while we're in a 50-50 position of this nature. So with that being said, of course, I'm going to let you guys know, I'm going to keep you guys updated as this thing does play out and as we do see more moves. So if you do enjoy these style of updates, super quick and super straight to the point, please do let me know by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.